Well, I can't tell if I'm live or not. My screen is just doing the circle thing. What's that called again? Hey, Sonia. Can you hear me okay? Ah, there I am. Okay. Okay, I should be live now. I don't know why I kept, I can't think of the word I want. Great. This is a wonderful way to start. Okay, try refreshing, Will, and see if that helps. I'm going to refresh also. Yeah, buffering, that's the word I want. Okay, try refreshing for me, guys, and see if that helps. It's okay for me now, thankfully, because I'm the most important person. I'm such a dork. All right, I'm just opening up a couple things here. All right, so good morning, Janet. I'm going to talk about the biopsychosocial model for understanding our health, our holistic health, and our mental health, and our physical health, and our sociological health, and how they all pertain to each other. The biopsychosocial model is something that is very interesting to me. I think it's something that, especially here in the United States, we should focus on more. Mostly in the United States, when we go to the doctor and everything is based on a biomedical point of view. But by using the biopsychosocial point of view, I feel that, people could be healthier. And I think it could save a lot of money. I think it could save a lot of lives. I think as far as future medical concerns, we could avoid some of those. And so I just want to talk about that a little bit today. I haven't really prepared anything, so let's hope that I stay on topic. I am going to screen share something here, and it'll help maybe keep me on topic. Let's see. All right, so what I'm putting up here now is a Venn diagram of the biopsychosocial approach to understanding health. So what we see here is that bio stands for the biology of our health. Psycho stands for the psychology of our health. And social context or sociology is the social part. That would be like socioeconomic or culture, things like that. Let's see, it's based on money, those medical facility doctors, especially hospitals. Well, I think, hi, Allie, it's good to see you. I never get to see you live, but there you are. That's okay, Allie. You take care of that papa. Okay, so what we see that affects the biological, and this is mostly when we go to our doctor, and he's going to consider, he or she is going to consider these kind of things about you, your gender, as far as being male or female, illnesses that may, because you're female, not even illnesses, but just your experiences as being female, such as pregnancy, menstruation, hormones, your ovaries, your uterus, the things that make you female, okay? As opposed to males. Like we know that males go and they have their prostates examined and they can get prostate cancer. You won't hear of a woman having prostate cancer, just as you won't hear of a male getting ovarian cancer or whatever. Then Then we also consider at the doctor your physical illnesses, like do you have high blood pressure? Do you have heart problems? Do you have diabetes? Do you have liver problems? And all those things they test. Disabilities such as, are you missing a limb? Have you had traumatic brain injuries like concussions and things like that? Genetic vulnerabilities. These are things. Really, Jana? Okay, well, we're going to discuss how all these things work together. Genetic dispositions and vulnerabilities. I have terrible problems with cholesterol. It's genetic. It has nothing to do with my diet. I eat very little cholesterol. I still have cholesterol problems. And when I look through my family tree, I see that, there's probably something that I've inherited genetically from my father's side of my family, as they have also all had problems with their cholesterol. Your immune function. Do you have immunodeficiency of any sort? Whether that's due to vitamins and minerals, or whether it's due to, and we'll get into a lot of other reasons for these kind of things. But neurochemistry, that's like, how is your actual brain, the physical brain, and the nervous system and all of that reacting and working. Stress reactivity. We're going to talk about more once we get into the psychology of it too. But like when you go in and you have a cardiac stress test and things like that, and they can check like the biology of the stress on you. And then medication effects. And this would include if you take benzodiazepines and they make you sleepy, or if you take some medications that have been found to work for other disorders, may raise your blood pressure or raise your blood sugar and all of these things. Okay, so that's the biological part of this. As we move into the psychology of it, this is like as they say here, your learning and your memory. Are they working well? Do you have learning disabilities? Do you have mental memory problems, cognitive problems? And, if we look back on what we've already gone over with biology, something that comes to mind immediately for me is that a lot of medications, which would be in the biology part, can cause memory problems, which would be in the psychology part. If we have, let's say, a traumatic brain injury disability, okay, we've had concussions or the like, that can cause some learning difficulties or some memory difficulties. So already we can see how these two come together a little bit, but we'll get into more of how they all come together after I describe how these are. Psychology would also include your attitudes and beliefs. And these kind of tie into the next one, which is personality as well. Some people have this attitude that seems very easygoing and everything just kind of rolls off their back. And that ties into their personality. They're just a real easygoing person. Other people seem to be very hyper vigilant about things, or, strict in their beliefs of how things work. Then we get into behaviors. And, that can tie into personality too. But in this case, possibly these are going to be maladaptive behaviors or maladaptive attitudes or beliefs. They can be completely normal ones, but in dealing with psychology, I think when we're talking about treatment or healing or diagnosis, we're looking at the maladaptive side of these things. Same thing with emotions, how you feel about things, how you react to things, and then your coping skills. How, in those reactions, how are you managing them? Are your coping skills adaptive, maladaptive, reactive, and the like? And then past trauma. And this is a big one because most maladaptive behaviors, I would venture to say almost all maladaptive behaviors, are due to past trauma. we have found a way to survive the trauma, but they aren't always healthy ways, okay? And I'm not reading the chat right now, so thank you, Sonia, for welcoming everyone who's coming in or watching from the bushes. I appreciate that. I will try and catch up with the chat in a little bit, but for now, I'm trying to stay on topic here. I want this to be beneficial to anyone who decides to stick around now or to watch later. So I'm trying not to, get off topic too much. Then we go into the social context. And like I said before, this could be, some people say socioeconomic, cultural. Basically, we have biology, psychology, and let's just call this sociology, okay? And sociology is a study of the way people behave in groups. It covers culture, family traditions, just the way that we work in a social atmosphere. And so this is going to include, as shown here, our social supports, our family background, cultural traditions, socioeconomic status, and our education. Okay, now the way the biopsychosocial approach works is you can start at any point and move in any direction and find links, causes, symptomology, maladaptation, all of these things. So as an example, let's start with the sociology part. Let's say that we have experienced, let me think of an example here that doesn't get too deep. I mean, I could go into some deep things, but really I just want to keep this first example kind of on the surface, just very innocuous and in general. So let's say that we have a person who comes from a poverty-stricken family. Because of the situation, living in poverty, this person doesn't have access to nutritious foods. Because of the lack of access to nutritious foods, we could get this person on one of the school programs where they're given a lunch free every day, okay? Now, the idea is that once we fix that, this person should be better. However, if we look at this, let's say it's a child, okay, because of the school thing and all that. The child isn't getting the vitamins and the minerals that they need to be energetic, to be able to listen. This is going to affect their education. They can't focus. They're maybe not, they just aren't getting enough nutrition. So this is going to follow into the biology aspect, which could affect their immune function. They're not getting enough vitamin C. They're not getting enough vitamin D. They're not getting all the things that they need to have an effective immune system. So we can see how a sociological problem becomes a biological problem. And if we don't address the biological problem caused by the sociological problem, it can lead to psychological problems such as learning behaviors or memory. The child may have problems learning now because they're too tired. They're sick a lot so they can't attend school as regularly as other children who aren't malnourished. And we see in that direction that it moves. So if we only treat the immune function, if the child goes to the doctor and the doctor says, we're going to put you on this, and this, or in some cases, they'll put you on an immunoglobulin or something like that, injection or infusion, I mean. Yes, you can improve the immune function through biology. But what we're still dealing with is that at home, that child is still not receiving what they need. And there are going to be psychological problems with that too. Now, if we start at a different point, such as starting with, I go to the doctor and I tell the doctor, I can't sleep at night. I'm having terrible dreams. I'm not sleeping. I'm not, I'm tired all the time or whatever. The doctor could probably give me something to help me sleep. There are pills, whether those are like herbs or whether they're pharmaceuticals, that can help me sleep. What's going to happen though is that these pills are going to help me sleep. But if we just leave it at that, we haven't really solved the problem. We have solved a symptom of the problem. But what should happen is that the doctor should say, you know what, here, this may help you sleep, whether it's, you find it's drinking warm milk or it's taking a medication or whatever. But this is just going to solve the symptom. I think there's something else going on. And so he sends you to see a psychologist. And the psychologist digs into why you're having trouble sleeping. Normally, our family physicians, they may delve a little bit into the whys. Why are we having trouble sleeping? But for the most part, they see the not sleeping as the problem. And they will, send us on our way with something to help us with the not sleeping. In the absence of whatever they send us home with, a prescription for whatever, nothing has been solved. So if we go into the psychology of it, perhaps we see a psychologist and the psychologist starts asking us questions about the way we're feeling, our emotions, what behaviors are we participating in? And they find that, 6 weeks ago, you were in a car accident, and even though you weren't physically harmed, it's caused you a lot of anxiety. The thought, maybe you're having nightmares. Maybe you're still hearing sounds from a car accident. These are things that are typical. The crunching of metal or whatever, the sirens as they came up or whatever. So what we're learning is that, yes, biologically, we are sleep deprived. And we do need to remedy that. But psychologically, the reason or the cause for the sleeplessness is more of an emotional or traumatic reason. Now, if we take that into the social context, how it's affecting that, maybe we've withdrawn from our friends and our family. Number one, because we're sleep deprived, but number two, because we're ruminating on these sounds or the anxiety around this past trauma. And so what we find is that we're withdrawing from activities that we enjoy doing with our families or cultural traditions, such as, we're not going to church, or we're not participating in family gatherings, or we're missing out on the things that we enjoy in life. And that's how these all go together. So if we only seek the biological treatment of our sleeplessness, we're leaving 2/3 of our being or of how we work out of the equation. So yeah, we may start sleeping again, but really we haven't coped with the things that are bothering us, and we're starting to lose our connections to society. So if we start with the psychology aspect, let's say that I was just diagnosed with bipolar disorder, which I do have. But in this example, we're going to start with the psychology of it. I was just diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and I saw a psychiatrist, and a psychiatrist will also deal with the biology of it in that, and this is going in the other direction. The psychiatrist will prescribe me medication, and let's say that these medications make me lethargic. That would be a medication effect, which is going to bleed in to the social context because maybe I'm too tired because of the medication to reach out to family and friends like I used to. I'm missing, we used to have game nights every Friday night, and I'm just lethargic from this medication. So now I'm missing out on game nights. Not to mention that, now my friends have heard that I've been diagnosed with a mental illness. This is scary to them. They're not very knowledgeable about this kind of stuff. And so maybe the stigma of having been diagnosed with a mental illness now is making my friends also back away a little bit at the same time that I'm not able to reach out and let them know what's going on. We can see again how the cycle affects a person on the whole. So, and let me bring up another thing here. And I don't know. This is another Venn diagram of the model here. I'm not sure it's going to be big enough. No, it's not. Okay, but let me read it to you anyway. Well, if I can. No, it's actually too small for me to even see. Okay, so I won't share that one. But at any rate, what I'm trying to get through here, the idea that you can't just focus on one aspect of health and think that that is the best model for treatment. I'm trying to get back to this. All right, let me share this one. Give me 1 second here. I'm sorry I wasn't better prepared. All right, so what we have here is the distinctions between the biomedical model and the biopsychosocial model. And the biomedical model, which is what I was talking about, that's normally the focus is on illness, treating illnesses or treating symptoms of illnesses. It's not on actually becoming, holistically healthy, like as a whole. They look for single factor causes and look for the cause of an illness rather than the contributory factors. So that could be, the cause of the illness is that the child is not getting enough nutrition. They aren't getting nutrients. They aren't getting minerals and vitamins and all of those things that they need. So that's what they consider where the illness comes from. And it is from a biomedical standpoint. But the contributory factors would be social in that the child comes from a poor family that can't afford nutritious foods. Now, we could say, how did this happen? Sonia, thank you. And then if we looked into the psychology of this, perhaps the reason that the child is living in poverty and can't afford nutritious foods is that their parent is unstable because of depression or whatever, and has an unstable work history and can't hold a job very long. So we can see again that all of these tie together. And if we fix one, which if we fix the biomedical part of it, and yes, it is possible through giving vitamins and or minerals or whatever that a child could become better, but taken away, they will fall right back into that because the other two parts of the equation have not been addressed. And let me just bring up another here. Hold on one second. The rest of this here. Okay. The biomedical explains illness by the simplest possible process. Exactly. As I was, using that same example again, the simplest reason for malnourishment is that the child just doesn't have enough nutrition. And that will be addressed, and that will be the only thing addressed in the biomedical process. People are not responsible for illnesses, and to some extent, this always has to be true. We can't go around blaming people for illnesses. It just doesn't do any good. If it did any good, and the things that we know people are responsible for and we can educate them about, like smoking, people do need to take some responsibility for their illnesses. So we know that through education and through, letting people know about harmful behaviors and things like that, while not completely responsible for their illness. I mean, I hate to blame anyone for having an illness because it sounds cruel and harsh, but the truth of the matter is that people can be responsible for their illnesses. And in the biomedical approach, that doesn't so much get addressed as it does in the biopsychosocial. And it's not that we're blaming people for their illnesses, but we're telling people that there are things you can do that will make your illness better or worse. In the biopsychosocial, that's why people are always being told by their doctors, exercise more, practice meditation, practice mindfulness, do relaxing activities to reduce stress and all of this. So the biopsychosocial puts a little more emphasis on being involved in your own treatment, that you can be responsible for at least the choices you make after being diagnosed with an illness. And then in the biomedical, it considers the absence of disease as physical wellness, which isn't necessarily true. Just because there is no evidence of disease doesn't mean that you're physically well when you consider the biopsychosocial method. Let's see, each one out of balance has enough. Exactly. Yes. So let me put this one back up just to keep it fresh in our minds here. All right. Does anyone have any questions so far? I want to talk about this now specifically, if there are no questions before I go on. I want to talk about this specifically in the sense of addiction. Now, addiction is not really my what I have focused on in my education, and I don't personally have, well, I can't say I don't personally have, like, from my own point of view, I've not been addicted, but I have probably participated in some addictive behaviors. They're just not the ones that most people think about, and they haven't been to such an extent that like I've ever needed counseling or treatment, although it probably would have been helpful. But I think that, especially when considering the biopsychosocial approach to addiction, it really emphasizes how important each of these are and that they need to be integrated together. They need to come into that point, which I can't think what it's called right now, a Rolo something. Anyway, Rouleau, or I can't remember what it is, but the part where it says health there, where all of these overlap, and that place would be the point of health. I think that in the treatment of addiction, it becomes really apparent how these models bring that together. If you send someone to a medical doctor for, let's say, opioid addiction, and they give them a medication like, oh God, now I'm not going to be able to think of either of the two that I know well, Suboxone, and what's the other one? Methadone. If they are prescribed Suboxone and Methadone, we know that biologically, these medications can keep someone from relapsing on something such as heroin or whatever. So biologically, it can take away the withdrawals, and it can keep someone from not using heroin. All right. The problem comes in that if that's the only focus of treatment, no one is addressing why the person became addicted, and how that affected their life socially, like with their families or with their communities, or, things like that. And so if you want a very basic approach to addiction, that would be it. Just offer them Suboxone and Methadone and send them about their lives. I don't see that as being a very long-standing or future-oriented way of treating addiction. If you look at the social context of addiction, people become very removed from their families and from their communities for the most part. Families get tired of the behaviors, and this would hit the psychosocial both. The behaviors associated with drug addiction, which, at best cost thousands upon thousands of dollars to families and friends, and, at worst involve criminal behaviors and theft and break-ins and all that kind of thing. There are Colonel Sanders, you're amazing. Love you. One second. Now I've gotten my brain off topic. You succeeded, Colonel Sanders. You should have a wonderful day from here on out. You got me off topic. So yeah, if all three areas aren't addressed during treatment of addiction, it's less likely to be a successful treatment. And I saw someone one time get very angry when they saw something posted about trauma having a connection with addiction. I saw the person say, my son was addicted and he never had any trauma or whatever. Well, the fact of the matter is that I would say almost all although you can't say always and never and all of that, but almost all addiction is rooted in trauma. Now, whether the two coincide, whether the trauma happens and then the addiction just immediately follows, whether it takes 30 years after a trauma for an addiction to occur, almost all addiction is rooted in trauma. Colonel Sanders, I'm going to let you go for now because you're disrespectful and I'm not interested in anything you have to offer. So while we may not want to acknowledge that, that terrible things have happened, or and they may not even be things that, as the addict grows up, or that the person with addiction acknowledges as they grow up. Hey, Uber, good to see you. But the root of almost all addiction is trauma, and it's used as a coping mechanism. And again, that would be, a maladaptive coping skill because of emotions that we aren't able to face, which, turns into behaviors that become maladaptive. So yeah, I forget where I think that that addiction is a very important topic to address, and I had somewhere I was going with that, but as we can see, you can't even do something that matters sometimes on here because people can't stand that you're doing something that matters. And it's gotten me now into a frame of mind where I'm annoyed and I forget where I was going with this. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this short because I just feel like I'm not in the best place right now to finish an important topic, and I apologize for that. So I'm going to go ahead and go, and I'm going to deal with how I'm feeling. And when I feel better and I am back on track, I will come back and finish this topic because it is important. And, we'll work on this another time. But I appreciate everyone who came to listen, and anyone who listens in the future. Please know that I will readdress this topic, and we'll get more into it. Maybe I'll do it members only, and then when it's over, I will put it public. So you're welcome, Trixie Cat. And thank you, Will, for stopping in and listening. Thank you, Sonia, for stopping in and listening. Uber, everyone, I really appreciate it. I think next time I will do members only, and then once it's over, I'll put it public. But thank you so much, and I will come back to this. I'll talk to y'all later. Love ya. You got your way, Colonel Sanders. Have a great day.